There are days in Earth's memory where everything changed. Moments that rewrote the rules, redrew the maps, and erased the names of entire lineages in the blink of a geological eye. The Permian, the KPG boundary, the long winter after the asteroid. We remember those days as endings, abrupt, violent, merciless. But they weren't endings for everyone. Some creatures, against every expectation, every law of probability, and maybe even biology itself, survived. Not just once, again and again. They slipped through the cracks, dodged death when the world was falling apart. Some even still walk or swim among us. This isn't a story about extinction. It's about what happens when extinction misses. Let's begin where all good survival stories do, in the ashes. Because the first to make it out alive were ghosts. Survivors that looked like they'd stepped out of a fossil and back into life. Take the coelacanth, for example. For decades, it was the poster child of extinction. Paleontologists knew it well, from rock. It was a lobe-finned fish, cousin to the first vertebrates that crawled onto land. It swam the oceans for over 400 million years before vanishing, presumably 66 million years ago. That was that. Another relic of a lost world. Until 1938. A South African fisherman dragged up a blue-scaled creature that didn't make sense. A scientist examined it and froze. It was a coelacanth, very much alive. It was like digging up a dinosaur and finding it still breathing. Then there's the tuatara, a reptile that doesn't quite belong anywhere. It looks like a lizard, but it isn't one. It has a third eye beneath the scales on its head, a feature we've mostly only seen in fossils. Its lineage diverged before the dinosaurs even became dominant. For a while, it ruled, and then it vanished from everywhere except a few isolated islands in New Zealand. For over 200 million years, the tuatara just kept breathing. It's not fast, not aggressive, not particularly adaptable, but sometimes the key to survival is to simply be left alone. And then we have the strange case of horseshoe crabs. You've seen them on beaches, especially in the eastern US, shuffling, helmet-shaped beings with blue blood and spiked tails. But what you're looking at isn't a modern crab, it's a time traveler. Horseshoe crabs are not even crabs. They're closer to spiders. And they've looked like this, nearly unchanged, for over 450 million years. They survived the Permian extinction, the worst mass extinction in Earth's history, when over 90% of species were wiped out. They lived through ice ages, firestorms, and rising seas. Somehow, they made it through every major biological collapse and still come back each year to lay their eggs in the sand, as if nothing ever happened. And then, from even deeper time, comes a creature with an even simpler strategy. When the asteroid hit 66 million years ago, it didn't just kill the dinosaurs. It also ended the reign of the ammonites, spiral-shelled cephalopods that had thrived for hundreds of millions of years. Ammonites vanished almost instantly, but a relative of theirs survived, the nautilus. Nautiluses live in the quiet, cold deep. Their chambers hold air, their tentacles grope in the dark. They have no ink sac, no clever camouflage, no brilliant speed like their cousin the octopus. But they have one thing the others didn't. They stayed in places the catastrophe couldn't reach. While the seas boiled and skies burned above, they drifted untouched in the deep. And then we reached the ones who didn't just escape extinction once. They made an entire career of it. Crocodilians. They were there when the dinosaurs rose. They were there when the dinosaurs died. And they're still here now. The crocodiles, alligators, gharials. They are more than survivors. They are specialists in survival. They can go months without food, slow their heart rate, lower their metabolism. They are ambush predators in a world that never stopped ambushing them back. Their ancestors were once armored giants the size of buses. Today, they've streamlined, they've hardened. They don't need to change fast because what they are works. But not every survivor came from silence. Some waited in the dark. Some were mammals. And when the giants fell, these tiny things were ready to rise. If you had taken a walk through the world just before the asteroid hit, mammals would not have impressed you. They were small, rodent-like, almost invisible beneath the feet of dinosaurs. Most were nocturnal, scavenging, hiding, surviving on scraps. Evolution had not yet handed them center stage. It had made them understudies. But when the final curtain fell on the age of dinosaurs, those shadows became the only place left to live. And that's exactly where the mammals waited. One of them, the size of a badger, may have gnawed its way into the next age. Its name was Didelphodon, a tough little marsupial with a crushing bite built for cracking bones and eating eggs. It wasn't cute, it wasn't clever, but it had everything it needed to live through chaos. It didn't rely on sunshine or huge meals or specific nesting grounds. Others, like Purgatorius, were even smaller. About the size of a mouse, it scurried in the debris of fallen trees, likely one of the first primates, or at least primate-like mammals, to appear after the extinction. But not all survivors were mammals. Some came from lineages so unlikely, so broken, it's a wonder they didn't crumble entirely. Take Champsosaurus. It wasn't a dinosaur, but it lived with them. It wasn't a crocodile, but it resembled one. Long-snouted, semi-aquatic, and almost comically persistent, it survived the same asteroid that turned T-Rex into bone dust. Why? Because Champsosaurus did what so many other survivors did. It went where death didn't. Into the water, into isolation, into the margins. Its lineage lasted another 25 million years after the extinction. No glory, no evolution into anything grander. Just survival. Quiet, stubborn survival. And while most ancient reptiles burned out in fire and flood, others simply faded into the background. They didn't dominate, they just hid. I'm talking about lizards and snakes. Both squamates were always quiet adapters. Lizards experimented with everything from gliding membranes to false horns. Some mimicked leaves, others buried themselves under sand for days. When the world burned at the end of the Cretaceous, their small size and cold-blooded calm were their lifelines. Snakes, meanwhile, took the ultimate gamble, limblessness. A creature designed to slip through cracks and shadows, to thrive beneath the notice of titans. It's hard to imagine that something so fragile-looking could survive the same extinction that killed Triceratops and Tyrannosaurus. But snakes, like whispers, find a way through cracks even asteroids can't close. And their success is almost surreal. From pit vipers that sense heat, to sea snakes with paddle tails, from chameleons that change color to geckos that scale glass, these creatures are the quiet engineers of survival. They rarely make it into the fossil record, and when they do, it's often in fragments. But make no mistake, lizards and snakes are living fossils in motion. And it wasn't just animals. Plants survived too. Ferns and cycads made it through the disasters. Crinoids, those ancient sea lilies, kept waving in the oceans. Sponges, bryozoans, and tiny reef builders held on quietly while the world changed. And then, there are the birds. Yes, birds, the last living dinosaurs. Not a relic, but a plot twist. The asteroid wiped out the giants, the flashy, the greedy, the massive, but one slim branch slipped through, small, feathered theropods with hollow bones and sharp senses. They were ground huggers, omnivores, and survivors. From them came robins, hawks, penguins, crows. Extinction missed, and evolution ran with it. But survival isn't about beating one apocalypse. Sometimes it's about outlasting dozens. Enter the lungfish, alive for over 400 million years. When their lakes dry, they cocoon in mud and wait, for rain, for years, for lifetimes. They don't panic. They've been here before. They'll be here again. Same with turtles, ancient voyagers of land and sea. They don't fight change, they outwait it. Their strategy is simple. Carry home on your back. Lay many eggs. Move slow. Spend little. It's not flashy, but it works. Always has. Now zoom in tighter. Tardigrades. Microscopic, 8-legged tanks. They shrug off heat, cold, radiation, vacuum. They shut down time itself, then wake up like nothing happened. They've survived 5 extinctions. They'll survive 5 more. But some didn't just survive. They vanished and came back. Coelacanths, horseshoe crabs, and lingula all belong to this ghostly category we've already explored. But the Laotian rock rat is a different kind of revenant, one we haven't met yet. Known only from fossils until someone bought one at a food market in 1996. That's how we discovered this rodent. Part of a family thought extinct for 11 million years was still alive, still scuttling across karst hillsides, still perfectly real. Imagine that. A creature we buried with science, resurrected by groceries. Same with the Wollemi pine, a tree species known only from Jurassic fossils until hikers found it growing in a canyon in Australia in 1994. A prehistoric forest, alive and breathing, untouched by time. These aren't just survivors, they're quiet rebellions. Proof that extinction isn't always death. Sometimes it's just distance. But sometimes a creature doesn't just come back from silence, it comes back from the edge of oblivion, like the Lord Howe Island stick insect, wiped out by rats in the 1920s, gone for decades. Then one day, 2 climbers on a jagged sea spike found it, alive, glossy, breathing. Only a few survived, but it was enough. They bred in captivity, they came back. These stories shake our certainty. They remind us, even now, in a world of satellites and steel, we don't know what's gone. Not really, because time doesn't reward the fastest or the strongest. It rewards persistence. Some creatures return, some never left, and some are stuck, frozen between eras. Too ancient for now, too alive for then. In Siberia's permafrost, scientists found a baby lion, fur soft, whiskers still visible. It died thousands of years ago, but looked like it just blinked. Woolly rhinos, mammoths, even wolves, preserved with liquid blood still inside. Not resurrected by evolution, but by ice. And the warmer it gets, the more they rise. Others weren't frozen, they were sealed. A chunk of amber cracked open in 2022 revealed a baby dinosaur. Feathers spread mid-motion, eye wide open. Not dead, just paused. Amber didn't fossilize it, it immortalized it. At Tanis in North Dakota, the final seconds of the Cretaceous are frozen in time. Fish with impact glass in their gills. A turtle twisted in agony. A dinosaur leg, skin still on. Extinction isn't a clean cut. It's glitchy, messy, overlapping. Sometimes the past stays buried. Sometimes it leaks. And when it does, creatures return. This is the twilight zone of life, where survival doesn't roar, it whispers. Now, go ahead and watch next video about the time when evolution glitches, creating animals that doesn't seem possible even by ancient standard.